So, on to a new week of action in the Cricket World Cup 2019. And we start with, what is a dead rubber, really. Sri Lanka against West Indies at Chesterley Street. Both sides, their tournament is over. I mean, from Sri Lanka's point of view, they did well to actually stay in the tournament as long as they did, really. Well, live in the tournament, you might say. Had a bit of luck with the weather and that. But, I mean, that defeat against South Africa here really just proved how weak they are in general, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, they were never really in the race from start to finish, were they? Never put up anywhere near enough runs. So timid in their middle order, actually. It was like watching MS Dhoni. He could easily slot into this Sri Lanka side. Ridiculous innings that he played against England on Sunday. It was just really, really... Well, it just didn't go anywhere, did it? And it weren't like they were losing wickets necessarily, not regularly anyway. Not in like a batch of 3 or 4 like they did earlier in the tournament. They just didn't go anywhere. I think there was a period of 16 overs where they scored 31 runs. And I mean, South Africa are half decent with the ball, but they're not that good. It was just a really, really poor performance from a side who had to win to stay in the competition. There was nothing to it whatsoever. And try as they might with the ball, I mean, they got out of trouble against England with a below par score. They got out of trouble against Afghanistan with a below par score. But, against the South African side with a little bit of freedom of having nothing to play for, they were never getting out of trouble a third time.
Yeah, their batting hasn't looked very good all tournament, has it really? They've struggled to post up any sort of scores. And, why will that suddenly change now against the West Indies? I guess you could say they're against a side that's, on its last legs physically, isn't it? Their injury situation isn't very great. I mean, what are you expecting from the West Indies here? Have they had enough of this tournament and they're going to jack it in, or are we going to see some fireworks?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even think they know what to expect, do they, to be honest? I was really disappointed with them against India. I thought they'd kept India to a reasonable score. Yes, it was a difficult run chase at Old Trafford, but not one that they should have lost by the better part of 150 runs. That was really, really poor. Once again, their batsmen just get out playing stupid shots. Chris Gale this time, the initiator. For someone who looks to play the certain balls early on in his innings, to suddenly get out to that ball from Hamid Shami was a little bit ridiculous. Shea Hope went pushing at 1, and it was an epidemic really from there on in, wasn't it? And really and truly, it was only when Sheldon Cottrell came in at number 9 or number 10 did someone actually take on the Indian attack, and it's just daft. Yeah, I don't know really, because obviously a lot of this West Indies side are going to be playing ODI cricket for the last time. I know Chris Gale's come out in the week and said that he's going to play against India next month, but I believe that when I see it. That's if he's even selected. West Indies really should move on from these older players now and look for 4 years' time. Try and build a team that can win the World Cup in 4 years. And with the ball and in the field, how much interest are they going to show? I mean, they've not shown a fantastic amount of quality in the field anyway, have they? So that could go seriously tits up here. Is the likes of O'Shane Thomas et al. Really going to be steaming in on a relatively hot Durham day with nothing to play for? I'm not convinced. I couldn't tell you what to expect from West Indies, Steve. They could be fantastic, but they could be dreadful. There's not much. There's no in between, though. That's one thing we can say, isn't there? They're going to be fantastic, or they're going to be dreadful. There won't be no middle ground.
Yeah, I mean, this has all the makings of a bit of a leisurely afternoon at the park, really, doesn't it? Potentially. On a big ground, which is not particularly the most inspiring place to play cricket either, is it? I'm afraid. So on to some bets for the game then. I mean, you said to me off air you don't like betting on dead rubbers, and you've only got a couple of picks here. It's difficult. I mean, West Indies are favourites, 1 to 2 favourites. I mean, we've said we don't know what to expect from them, so we can't really predict a winner in that respect, can we? But I mean, should they, in theory, on paper, have too much for Sri Lanka?
Oh yeah, absolutely they should. I mean, you look at their top 6, there's power from start to finish, isn't there? You look at their bowling attack when it fires. it's a very good bowling attack. I mean, it's just kept India under 300, hasn't it, on a perfectly good batting wicket. Kept New Zealand under that score as well. Should have beaten New Zealand ultimately. And obviously earlier in the tournament kept Australia under it at Trent Bridge as well. So this is a bowling attack that can fire. It's just whether it's got the impetus and the inspiration to fire, and I'm not convinced it will have that. I think Sri Lanka are a value call for those that are desperate to bet on the match. I think they are the value in this one. I think the match means more to Sri Lanka than it does to West Indies. I think there's a lot more players in the Sri Lanka side that are probably going to be around in 4 years. And, Sri Lanka are at the start of this transitional period where they can build from here. They've not had a bad World Cup, as you alluded to at the start of the tournament. So they've got something to build on. So I think this is a bigger game for Sri Lanka. There's so many veterans in that West Indies lineup. I mean, Gale's ready to be put out to pasture, isn't he? A couple of the bowlers as well. Maybe one or two of the batsmen aren't going to be around because they're not good enough. So the value's on Sri Lanka, but you're taking an absolute chance of guessing what's going to happen in this game. We've still got, 10, 12 games left in the tournament. I don't really want to tie up and risk a load of funds here when I know that there's going to be better betting opportunities to come.
So you're going to take Fernando over 24.5 runs, though, in this game?
Yeah, one for the ABBA fans, this one. Where's he been hiding? I mean, when they were scratching around at the start of their innings earlier on in the tournament, to think that they had this bloke sitting on the bench is ridiculous, because the 49 that he scored against England at Headingley was as good a 49 as has been in the tournament, and he was peppered with short balls then as well, and he was twatting them for six, pulling, cutting, hooking. So we know that if West Indies do send down a barrage of short balls, which, by and large they're probably going to do here, it's been their modus operandi against all of the Asian sides so far. We know that he can cope. He also scored 30 against South Africa on this very ground, which looked good as well. Played some classy shots in that. And actually, if you look a little bit further back, when Sri Lanka played one ODI up in Scotland prior to this tournament, he played in that. Okay, it's only Scotland, but let's not forget that they beat England last year. And he scored 74 in that. So maybe the clues were there. So where he's been hiding, I've no idea. But he does look a really class act. He looks good against seam bowling. We haven't seen him against spin yet, but he's not going to face much of that from the West Indies, is he? So I think his runs line looks a little bit low at 24.5. You can get 1.85 or 17 to 20, depending on how you like your odds at BetVictor or 888 Sport. And I'd be surprised if that doesn't coin in. I don't think West Indies is going to get too much seam movement, and I don't think they're going to trouble him for bounce and pace. I think he quite likes that. So all things being equal, I expect him to get to 25.
Fernando over 24.5 runs there from you, Kev. I've got one pick for the game, and it's Sri Lanka under 22.5 boundaries. They just haven't looked like getting many of these boundaries all tournament, really. This includes 4s and 6s. I did look at under 2.5 6s, Sri Lanka. I mean, that's a sort of line you'd expect in a football match for goals, isn't it? Rather than a one-day international at cricket. But and I don't think they'll hit more than 2 6s. But you just never know, do you? Towards the end of the innings, is someone who clubs a couple. It's not a lot to ask, is it? Just say there's a boundary that comes in short. But that batting order for me is once the couple of wickets are gone, it just meanders along and they don't have enough power. West Indies bowl fairly well against India, I thought. There's no guarantee they'll do the same again, but I think they can limit Sri Lanka. If Sri Lanka bat first, they're not the sort of side that are going to rack up a big score, are they? And if they're chasing something, they could easily collapse. So I think all things considered, 22.5 boundaries from this side, 4s and 6s combined seems quite a lot, really, for them to cover. So I'll go the under there at William Hill. I would have taken the match at boundary unders, but with West Indies involved, well, let's be honest, they're either 1, 4, or 6, aren't they? They're not going to be running too many 2s and 3s, the West Indies. So
they'll probably only be 4 and 6 in this game as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just the sort of side that's going to be all or nothing, isn't it? So they're actually the sort of outfit that could get 250, and most of it's in boundaries. So they're it's a bit of an annoying match to bet on in that respect, really. The sixes line's high at 8.5 at William Hill. I don't think there'll be more than 8 sixes here. But again, there's always that risk in there with the West Indies. There's 3 or 4 big hitters in their side. If they just get the eye in, then they can fuck you over. Just one person can completely kill your bet. So I think Sri Lanka, the boundaries under for Sri Lanka is what I like. And I would also suggest under 2.5 sixes for Sri Lanka is quite possible. So that's my pick for the game. We're on to top batsman, and you've got one for West Indies. We'll tell you about that in a minute. But you were sweating the other day, weren't you?
Sweating? I wasn't sweating. I was having a coronary. Ridiculous.
Adana, had he not got out, I don't think he would have got to 30 runs, but he would have got close. And
Morris would have sent down enough filth to give him a chance, that's for sure.
I was kind of, a bit naughty of me. I was hoping he would get close just to give you a bit of a scare. Obviously not win it. I would have been annoyed as well. But you're not going to back him though here?
No, I'm not. Someone's got to go big in that top order, aren't they? And not only that, the West Indies pace is probably too good for Sri Lanka tailenders. I mean, listen, if he top scores, he top scores. But hopefully, if he does top score, he does it against India later on in the competition, because I dare say I'll be on him in that game.
Well, you are going to be on Hetmeyer again, top West Indies batsman. He's someone that you flung a few quid at in this tournament, and let's hope he comes good.
Yeah, well, he was the top scorer waiting to happen, wasn't he, against India? And then just for no apparent reason, just gave a catch to point when the top score was well within range. I think he was 15 away from it at the time. No one below him was going to come in and top score. So that was annoying, but he scored 250s prior to that, didn't he? He's a young player, probably got a point to prove, needs an innings, probably not necessarily to stay in the side, but to stay the sort of big cheese in this side, certainly in the middle order at least. Nothing in this Sri Lanka attack is there apart from Malinga, and he won't be facing any of him batting at 5. So all things being equal, I think it's 13-2. Big price on Hetmeyer. He's a class act. There was nothing in this wicket on Friday. They were all saying that it was a poor wicket, but it wasn't. It was a poor batting performance. South Africa proved that. They were going to run a ball in their run chase, and they're crap. So someone's going to score big for the West Indies, and I see no reason why it won't be Hetmeyer, especially if Malinga can mastermind a way through Gale early doors.
All right, brilliant. Well, best of luck with those picks. We'll be back to preview Bangladesh against India on Tuesday, but from now it's goodbye.
Yep. Cheerio, Steve. All the best, mate.
Cheers.